Thursday, good afternoon. Another video. Just want to address something somebody told me yesterday. Was like, no, Mitchell, do a comparison between Afrikaner and Bosmara cattle. And I said, that is not possible. He asked me why. I said, because your Afrikaner is what basically was used to develop what we know today as the Bosmara cattle. It was a cross between the Hereford, Afrikaner Hereford, and shorthorn cattle. So you can't do such a comparison because on the end of the day, it is like trying to compare your Toyota Land Cruiser to your Lexus. Because the Land Cruiser, I mean the Toyota Land Cruiser was what was used to develop what we know today as Lexus, and your Afrikaner was used today to develop what we know today as Bosmara, the red Bosmara cattle. For those who might not know what Bosmaras look like, I mean Afrikaners, sorry, not Bosmaras, what Afrikaners look like. This is what Afrikaner cattle look like. They usually come in this type of color, light tan. They usually come in cherry red, or yeah, cherry red and this light tan. I've seen some that have come in interesting color, but I've seen one that was black, but I believe that has to do with crossbreeding. You can only obtain that. A bit more on Afrikaner cattle. We can consider them indigenous cattle because they share co-ancestry with our Nguni and our Drakensberg cattle. Nguni particularly more popular. Drakensberg are very popular cattle in South Africa, very indigenous cattle. They were first registered in 1912. That was when the first Afrikaner stud book actually registered this breed. They are not really humped animals, more similar to your indigenous Sanga or your Nguni cattle. They do not really have the over-exaggerated hump like your Brahman. This breed, average weight of this breed can go for a bull can be 826. For a bull can be 826. For a full-grown bull could be 826 or 1,000, or can be, well, sorry, not 1,000, sorry. Can be 820, go up to 1,009. That's the heaviest it can get. Females can go 450. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, they can go 450 to 600 kilograms. The breed is known to be very resistant to tick-borne diseases. If you're farming in an area where ticks are a problem, it is heat resistant. I mean, not heat, let me say heat tolerant. I don't want to say heat resistant because nothing's really heat resistant. It's heat tolerant, meaning it can perform well in very hot climatic conditions. It can perform quite well. You can run this herd of cattle on not really on your largest pieces of farm, maybe 700 hectares, and it will still be able to gain very good weight or not good quality grazing, so similar to your Nguni cattle, but you still need to do your maintenance, buying leaks here and there. But it's a no-nonsense cattle, it's a no-nonsense cattle. It doesn't really require you to do so much feeding and so much maintenance on it compared to some of your European or American breeds. The breed is also known for longevity. It has been recorded that some bulls and some cows have been able to breed till the age of 16. The best recorded case was age of 21. It was a cow that was still breeding at the age of 21. It has a very low mortality rate, meaning it doesn't really lose calves because of the bone structure, the way its hind legs are built. In terms of that, you'd have very, very minimum to small cases of issues like calving difficulties. It's quite rare in this breed. When it comes to their mothering ability, they're very good mothers. They developed a system whereby, almost like a crash system or a daycare system, where a group of cows would go out and graze, one or two or three would remain behind, wait for the other ones to come back. When those ones come back, then this 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 would actually go out to go graze while the other ones come back. What are they today? Because their numbers dropped. I think they're about, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 or lower breeders in the country. Reason being was that due to the fact that it was so, due to the fact of inbreeding, because the genetics were very little. So everybody had almost similar genetics in their crawl, and because of inbreeding and so forth, people stopped breeding them and started buying more European breeds where they could get a larger gene pool compared to the Afrikaner. But that has been changed. Today, what they're mostly used for is in crossbreeding programs, commercial crossbreeding programs. They're actually said to have one of the best meat quality when it comes to making meat tender, and so forth, improving the meat quality. So if you're running cattle Like your ngunis, when you slaughter them, the meat's a bit hard, or your cattle that have very tough meat. You'd love to put the Afrikaner bull or Afrikaner cow, or put an Afrikaner cow in their head, just to help soften and make that meat a bit tender, you know. So to make the meat a bit tender, like I said, they can gain, of course, they can gain weight. They can gain good cages on very poor quality grazing, where most European or American breeds might not be able to perform well. Just like any indigenous cattle, like Ngunis are able to also to gain very good weight in very low quality type of grazing. As I mentioned, the Afrikaner was, of course, the baseline breed that was used to develop what we know today is our African Bosmara. In Australia, they call it the Bella Mort, which is just the Bosmara, because it was crossed out of the same thing, the Afrikaner with a Hereford and a short horn. It's also used to crossbreed the Afrikas, which is a crossbreed, 50-50 crossbreed of an Afrikaner. It's a 50-50% crossbreed of an Afrikaner and an Angus cattle. So that's a bit background on this cattle. A lot of breeders who I've spoken to in the past, when I talk of Afrikaner cattle, they tell you, look, they farm Afrikaner cattle, even though it has fallen out of popularity today of a lot of young commercial and stud people, is because they tell you this, I want to breed a cattle that is a low-cost animal, doesn't require me to really do so much maintenance on it, can gain weight on the field, on the grazing on its own, without really having to do the extra maintenance. That is a bit resistant to certain diseases like ticks and so forth. They don't want to spend so much money. So if you are in the business of cattle breeding and you want to breed a breed of cattle that's as resistant as your indigenous Nguni, but you don't want to farm Ngunis because of the size, you go Afrikaner. You can get some Afrikaner. I believe in Namibia, Newdam breeds them. The University of Agriculture, which is Newdam, they breed them. I think Tom Human breeds them. There's is it Kersfeld Afrikaner in the Otavi area, they farm them. And everybody gives high ratings. As I mentioned, it has been used to crossbreed the Bosmara, the Afrikas. It's also been used to breed the Huguenot, which is a crossbreed between an Afrikaner and a Charolais cattle, the French Charolais, to develop the Huguenot, which is quite popular in South Africa, very popular in the area of Free State. People give it very good reviews, and that is because of the Afrikaner genetics in it, allowing it to adapt, be able to walk very long distances, be able to adjust to heat, be able to adjust to tick-borne diseases, and be able to adjust on low-quality grazing, where some cattle might not adjust on certain type of grazing like sour grass and so forth. So that's my 2 cents, and that's the reason why I couldn't do a comparison between the two, an Afrikaner, a Bosmara, because the Bosmara would have been better, because it's a hybrid. Hybrids are usually better. Crossbreeds are usually better than the original. Sometimes the original is usually better than the crossbreed, but in this case, the Bosmara, you look at things like its milk, its meat, its weight, and its performance overall. It's a top-performing breed. I don't think the Afrikaner can really compete with it. But in saying so, the Afrikaner is not a slacker. It's not a sissy in any way, or it's not slacking in any possible way. This is why a lot of people looked at it and said it is what they would use to crossbreed, as I mentioned, crossbreed your Bosmara, crossbreed your Afrikas, crossbreed your Huguenot cattle. It's because of the ability that it has to adjust and to adapt in any conditions, and the ability for it not to have calving problems when it's calving, and its mothering ability, and as I mentioned, the adaptability, mothering ability, being able to be resistant to tick-borne diseases, because depending where you're farming, if you're farming in hot, wet areas, ticks are a problem, and they perform quite well. So that's my 2 cents on that. Would love to hear what you guys' opinion on the Afrikaner would be. Would you guys farm them? Would you guys even consider farming them? Or you had bad instances with them in the past? Or you don't feel like bad instances, or they would be the best breed to work for you, or you just don't fancy them? So yeah, as I said, I would be, of course, reading your comments at the bottom of this video and hearing your opinion, and also replying to that. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.